Welcome to the 17th Annual ACE New York Conference, Constructing Climate Solutions. I'm so glad you all joined us, and there's actually a lot of you. I think this is for sure our largest conference ever for the Alliance for Clean Energy. So when you see Megan Ligori, our conference coordinator, please give her a congratulations. But maybe there's so many of you here because we have so much to talk about. It has been a very busy roller coaster last couple of months. And side note, I am not the type of person that actually likes roller coasters. But let me do some review. So in September, I had the great opportunity to travel to Germany as part of a delegation to learn about Germany's offshore wind industry and renewable energy policy in person. And one of the reasons I enjoyed this trip was the company, a great group of folks in diverse jobs from all over the United States, both in and out of government, spending time hearing about all of their own renewable energy goals and the own challenges in their states was both informative and supportive. And I really hope that the great group of participants that we have here today does the same for you. Second reason it was a great trip is that because of the time difference, I didn't spend all of my time constantly answering texts and emails and calls from ACE staff and all the member companies. You all know who you are, because you were all asleep back here, and I was able to focus on what I was learning and really absorb new information, and it was so refreshing. So I recommend it. So you should try it today. Put those phones in your pocket and participate in a focused way if you can. And third, I was struck by the remarkable similarities between Germany's renewable energy goals and New York's. Although theirs come with the added imperative of freeing themselves from Russian fuel imports, but there are similarities in our challenges. The roles of transmission owners versus developers versus government, the concerns with costs and affordability, balancing which parties should bear which risks, the role of competition, debates about hydrogen and nuclear, and also the stated desire of both the state of New York and Germany to be leaders in the world in demonstrating action in the face of a rapidly changing climate. So at 50% renewable power, Germany's a bit ahead of us, but then there's also the striking similarity in both places that their policy has changed over time as we've learned lessons together. But in any case, it was a great trip, and guess what? I still love working in the field of clean energy policy. It was reinvigorating. I still embrace the challenge of being an advocate and still want New York State to be the leader in demonstrating this clean energy transition. And there's so many reasons for this, and the people in this room know all of those reasons. To make power with no air pollution, to replace fossil fuel generators in neighborhoods that have been historically disadvantaged, to create a grid that's cleaner and more resilient because more renewable electricity means less fossil fuel and thus less susceptibility to price spikes whenever war or instability strikes around the world, which it does tragically all too often. Because in New York, in the past, powering with coal or oil or natural gas just meant energy dollars flowing out of state. Because there's a better way to power our lives, and we can do that while creating good jobs for New Yorkers. And last but not least, because climate change is real and is here and is causing property damage and migration and anxiety, and the alternative is continuing to make electricity and power transportation and heat our homes the same old way, which would just make things worse. So that's not what New York is doing. The Alliance for Clean Energy New York, on behalf of our industry members and on behalf of our environmental members, has had a lot of victories over the years, many. We've successfully lobbied for net metering, for solar tax credits, New York Sun, the old RPS, the current clean energy standard. We pushed hard for the 50% clean energy standard, and then 70%, and then the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And for improvements to the permitting process, for changes to the interconnection process, for a model to set tax rates for wind and solar, for the establishment of an offshore wind tier. That was a big ask. Remember when we started asking for that one? For the index rec contract structure, first for offshore wind and then for Tier 1, for the New York City Renewable Energy Program, better known as Tier 4, for all electric buildings and electric school buses, for more investments in transmission, and the designation of public policy transmission needs, 2 down, 1 to go there. And over the years, we have successfully blocked legislation as well. Bills, for example, that would have banned wind turbines within 100 miles of a defense facility, which is the entire state of New York. Anyone remember that one? That was a fun fight. But we don't always win. And I'm here to report to you that losing is less fun. In June, after much debate, soul-searching, and analysis, ACE New York submitted a petition to New York's Public Service Commission requesting an inflation adjustment for 86 wind and solar projects. And 2 offshore wind companies did the same on behalf of their combined 4.2 gigawatts of offshore wind projects. These petitions demonstrated that due to unprecedented inflationary pressures and macroeconomic impacts affecting the renewable energy sector, these projects were at risk. Although no one disputed that there have been real and serious economic impacts and project risks, the outcome was not what we had hoped, and the petitions were denied. I was also hoping that New York State would be a hydrogen hub and that an offshore wind bill wouldn't get vetoed last week. And also, my Climate Week cocktail party was very, very rainy. In fact, just 2 days ago in Queens, I was greeted by a colleague from NYSERDA who's here who said, "Ann Reynolds, you've had quite a run." But we just need to keep on working. It's really the only choice. Last week, for example, we spent at least 6 hours in meetings with NYSERDA discussing the possibility of an expedited next RFP for Tier 1 projects. And so I had hardly a minute to wallow in self-pity. And neither do you all in your own work to build wind and solar projects, to market EV charging, or building energy efficiency software, to design supply chain investment plans, or otherwise construct climate solutions to the climate crisis we are collectively facing. And speaking of 2 days ago, I had the honor of attending an event at which Governor Hochul announced 25 new renewable energy contract awards at an IBEW training center in Queens. 3 offshore wind projects totaling over 4,000 megawatts, and 22 Tier 1 projects, including solar, repowered wind, new wind, and 1 hydro, totaling 2,410 megawatts of new renewable energy generating capacity. In a word, a huge announcement. As I said in my remarks at that event, this is great news for the companies that won awards, all members of the Alliance for Clean Energy New York, and a sincere congratulations to them for all the work they have done to get their important projects to the current point. But it also was great news for us all in that it showed the governor and the state's continuing commitment to this energy transition. At that event, I was able to have a front row seat to the governor personally voicing her support for these investments, for this transition, and for the climate action leadership that we all want and the world most definitely needs. So, which brings my roller coaster to today. As I said, we have a lot to talk about. Our theme is constructing climate solutions because that's what we must do. At yesterday's member meeting, for example, we had a workshop called Development 101, reviewing the development process for wind and solar projects so we can all share lessons learned about how to get projects to construction. From storage to electric vehicle charging infrastructure to decarbonized and more efficient buildings, we won't see any rewards until we start the construction. And now there's over 100 wind, offshore wind, and utility-scale solar projects that have contracts that we hope to move into construction in the coming years. And as the winner of the 2023 Clean Energy Advocate Award, which was presented last evening, the Laborers International Union, LIUNA, as they know, we don't get those jobs until we start building. Today's program is designed around that premise and is crafted to stimulate the conversations we need to overcome barriers, understand and solve problems, specifically to get clean energy projects of all types off of the drawing boards and into construction. So in sum, the ACE team has had some wins and losses this year. For me personally, it was really good that the trip to Germany was rejuvenating because it carried me through some less successful weeks And here I am, still standing, advocating in partnership and coalition with all of you for the policies that will help, hopefully, get climate solutions constructed. And it's not the first time that the clean energy industry has faced setbacks and headwinds. I think about these setbacks on the scale of New York State policy, but many of you face these setbacks at the project level. Challenges with landowner fatigue, permitting surprises, trouble lining up supply chain, a failed attempt to get an offtake agreement, and in some cases, contracts that may no longer work for you. But at both the project level and the state policy level, we once again need to find solutions and move forward. So I'm really hoping that the conversations today will help us connect with colleagues, explore challenges we have in common, and inspire us in our own work to construct climate solutions. And to get us started, it's my pleasure to introduce Kit Kennedy. If you don't know Kit, you should. She leads the Natural Resources Defense Council's state and regional climate and clean energy advocacy across the United States, and with more than 30 years of experience. She directed the Environmental Protection Board at the New York Attorney General's office and has taught at Yale, Fordham, and Vermont law schools. She serves on the board of the New York League of Conservation Voters Education Fund and the executive board of the New York State Bar Environmental Law Section, and is a graduate of Harvard Law School and Harvard College. But the most important part of her bio, and though I might be a bit biased here, is that she's the founder of both the Alliance for Clean Energy New York and the New York Offshore Wind Alliance. In both cases, having and pursuing a vision that the renewable energy industry and the environmental community working together to push for clean energy would be more powerful and more impactful than doing so separately. So we're so happy that she had that vision and helped make ACE. And we are very happy to be hearing from Kit today.